The underground base of the Symmetry Collective was a far cry from their previous high-tech hideouts. Exposed concrete walls, flickering emergency lights, and makeshift communication stations replaced the sleek technology they'd once relied on. Survival now meant invisibility. Phoenix spread an aged, crinkled map across a worn metal table. Her fingers traced the faded lines, revealing a network of forgotten sewage tunnels beneath the NovaGenix corporate headquarters. The map looked ancient, possibly dating back to the city's original infrastructure, a relic from before the corporate takeover. "This is our way in," she said, her voice low and determined. The remaining members of the collective gathered around, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and desperation. Artemis had died. Phoenix had watched her fall. Now, their mission was more than just rebellion. It was revenge. The plan was audacious. 50 volunteers would navigate the labyrinthine tunnels, entering the corporate headquarters from below. Undetected. Unexpected. A final, desperate strike against the system that had crushed millions under its heel. Ray Voss studied the map, his fingers tracing potential routes. "These tunnels haven't been used in decades," he muttered. "NovaGenix won't be monitoring them." Kai stood silent, his enhanced senses scanning the map. The multiple Evolix treatments that made him unique also made him their most valuable asset. He could detect minute vibrations, sense technological signatures, process information faster than any human. "We'll move in 2 teams," Phoenix explained. "The first 10, including Kai, will disable initial security and create a path. I will lead the remaining 40 and will follow, providing backup and ensuring we can retreat if needed." The tunnels were a nightmare of crumbling concrete, stagnant water, and generations of urban decay. Maintenance hatches, rusted shut for decades, required brutal force to open. The team moved swiftly, their breathing controlled, equipment minimal. 2 hours into their journey, the first warning came from Kai. "Something's moving," he whispered, his heightened senses detecting vibrations in the water. The first mutated gator erupted from the water like a nightmare, its scales glinting with an unnatural metallic sheen. 4 times the size of a normal alligator, it moved with a predatory intelligence that spoke of deliberate genetic manipulation. Kai's enhanced senses detected the threat milliseconds before it struck. "Contact right!" he shouted, pushing the nearest team members back. The first mutated gator emerged like a nightmare from the city's forgotten depths. 4 times the size of a normal alligator, its scales looked metallic, its eyes an unnatural phosphorescent green. Genetic experiments had clearly transformed these creatures into something far more dangerous. The first beast lunged, its massive jaws catching a scout team member. Screams erupted as razor-sharp teeth tore through protective gear. Kai moved first, using his super speed to draw the creature's attention. Ray coordinated defensive positions, guiding team members to higher ground along the tunnel's concrete ledges. The creature's attacks were lightning fast versus that of a normal gator. Just then, a second gator emerged from the depths of the sewer waters, blocking their retreat. Its massive jaws clamped down on Ray's arm, the bite so powerful it tore through protective gear and flesh in an instant. Ray screamed, the sound echoing through the tunnel as arterial blood sprayed across the concrete walls. "Ray!" Kai launched himself at the creature, using his super speed to deliver a series of devastating strikes. Kai's initial strikes seemed ineffective, but with each powerful blow, he began to notice subtle changes. The first gator's movements grew sluggish. Its metallic scales cracked slightly, where Kai's enhanced strength struck. The team coordinated their attack. Some members used makeshift electrical prods scavenged from their emergency gear. Others threw chunks of concrete, targeting the creature's vulnerable areas. Kai focused on precision, each strike now calculated to exploit weakening points. He targeted joints, eyes, and areas where the metallic scaling showed stress fractures. The first gator's movements became more erratic, its powerful lunges losing momentum. The first gator lunged again, its massive body displacing water and creating a wave that knocked several team members off balance. Kai used his hypercognitive abilities to predict its movements, shouting rapid-fire instructions to the remaining team members. Concentrate fire on the eyes. Aim for the soft tissue beneath the scales. The tunnel became a chaotic battlefield. Armor-piercing rounds struck the gator's body, some ricocheting off its enhanced scales, others finding vulnerable spots. The creature's unnatural resilience became apparent as it continued its attack despite multiple hits. Each hit seemed to only enrage them further. The battle was brutal. The mutated gators moved with aggressive speed, their bodies showing signs of unnatural enhancement. One team member's leg was crushed, another barely escaped a death roll that shattered concrete. The second gator, witnessing its companion's struggle, became more aggressive. But the team's coordinated assault began to take its toll. Ray, despite losing an arm, provided tactical guidance, his underground experience proving crucial. A team member with a cutting tool managed to slice through a section of scaled skin, revealing the vulnerable flesh beneath. Kai seized the moment, delivering a series of devastating blows that finally brought the first gator down. The second creature, now isolated, fought with desperate ferocity. Kai moved between gunners, using his super speed to reposition team members, maximize firing angles, and protect the most vulnerable. With the team's combined effort, Kai's superhuman abilities, strategic attacks, and collective determination slowly ground it down. With a final, thunderous strike from Kai, the second mutated gator collapsed. The tunnel fell silent, save for heavy breathing and the soft sound of water dripping. They had survived, but at a cost. Ray lay critically wounded, and several team members were injured. After the brutal gator battle, the extent of the team's injuries became clear. 12 team members required immediate medical evacuation. Ray with his severed arm, several with deep lacerations, and others suffering potential internal injuries from the creature's attacks. Phoenix made the tactical decision to split the group. 12 injured will return to base, she announced. The remaining team will continue the mission. The injured members were quickly organized for evacuation, their wounds treated with field medical supplies. Ray lost consciousness, his critical condition requiring careful transport. Kai stepped forward. "I'll lead the remaining team through the tunnels," he said. His enhanced senses would be their primary navigation tool, detecting vibrations, sensing technological signatures, and processing the complex underground network with superhuman precision. The remaining team, now reduced to about 38 members, prepared to continue their underground approach to NovaGenix headquarters. Their mission remained unchanged: infiltrate from below, undetected. "We're approximately 500 meters from the headquarters' lowest structural foundation," Kai reported, his voice calm and analytical. "Continuing forward." Among the 38 left standing, every face carried a mix of determination and dread. The injured had been sent back with the grim understanding that they might never see their comrades again. Now, only those prepared to face the impossible remained. As the group trudged through the dank tunnels, Phoenix fell back to walk beside Kai. The dim light from their gear cast long shadows, but the tension between them was palpable. "You really had to cut loose back there, didn't you?" Phoenix said, her voice low but edged with concern. Kai glanced at her, his brow furrowing. "What was I supposed to do? Those things would have shredded us." "I'm not blaming you," Phoenix replied. "You did what you had to, but you know how this works. NovaGenix tracks power signatures like yours. You light up their system every time you push yourself." Kai stopped walking, forcing Phoenix to turn and face him. "You think they noticed?" "They might not know exactly where we are yet," Phoenix admitted, her tone softening. "But if they're paying attention, they'll know someone down here isn't normal. And there aren't a lot of people in the world who match your profile, Kai." Kai exhaled sharply, frustration flickering across his face. "So, what do we do? Turn back? Abandon the mission?" Phoenix's gaze hardened. We move fast. We stick to the plan, and we make it count." Kai took a moment to steady himself, his heightened senses still attuned to the vibrations in the tunnel walls, a low hum of energy signaling their proximity to the NovaGenix headquarters. The group moved forward, their steps careful on the uneven terrain of the ancient corroded tunnels. Above them, the oppressive weight of NovaGenix's corporate empire loomed, figuratively and literally. The air grew damp and heavy as they approached the marked location on their map. The reinforced access hatch leading directly into the building's lowest levels. Kai approached the hatch, placing a hand on the corroded metal. His fingers tingled as he concentrated, his hypercognitive abilities analyzing the locking mechanism. It was old tech, outdated and reliant on physical redundancies, likely overlooked by NovaGenix as obsolete. Within seconds, the tumblers clicked into place, and the hatch groaned open. "Nice work," Phoenix said with a faint grin. "Stay focused. Every second counts." One by one, the group climbed through the narrow opening, emerging into the dimly lit basement floor of the NovaGenix headquarters. The room was massive, filled with storage crates and dormant equipment coated in dust, a forgotten relic of the building's early construction days. It was eerily quiet, the air stagnant. The basement of NovaGenix headquarters loomed vast and shadowy, filled with forgotten equipment and the musty smell of neglect. Kai led the advance team of 10, his enhanced senses scanning for threats. Their footsteps were silent on the concrete floor, years of training evident in their movements. 2 guards stood at the far end of the basement, their attention focused on a security terminal. Kai signaled to his team, then moved with superhuman speed. Before the guards could react, he had them both in a sleeper hold. They crumpled silently to the floor. "Clear," he whispered, his voice barely audible. The team moved like shadows through the basement, disabling cameras and security measures. Behind them, the remaining 28 members of the collective were beginning their ascent through the sewer access point. Phoenix, leading the second group, ensured their approach remained undetected. Using maintenance stairwells, they advanced floor by floor. On the second floor, they encountered 3 more guards. The team moved with practiced precision. Kai disabled 2, while another team member took down the third with a swift strike to the throat. No alarms, no gunfire, no alerts. "Too easy," Kai said, his enhanced senses tingling with warning. They reached the 5th floor when everything went wrong. The first sign was subtle, a slight change in air pressure that only Kai could detect. His eyes widened. "Trap!" he shouted, but it was too late. Panels in the walls slid open with hydraulic hisses, revealing dozens of Corp-Sec operatives in Guardian Series combat armor. The air filled with the distinctive whine of EN1 enhanced neuralizers powering up, as a swarm of Corp-Sec operatives flooded the scene. Before anyone could react, automatic gunfire erupted. A hail of bullets tore through the air, cutting down collective members instantly. Blood sprayed across the walls as rebels and security alike were caught in the relentless crossfire. Chaos exploded as both sides returned fire, the corridor turning into a battleground of ricocheting rounds and shattering glass. Fall back! Phoenix's voice crackled over the comms. Get to cover! Kai moved like a blur, dodging gunfire while dragging wounded allies to safety. Corp-Sec soldiers fell too, some caught in their own crossfire, others overwhelmed by the rebels' desperate counterattack. A grenade detonated nearby, the blast wave sending bodies flying. Smoke and dust filled the air, making it nearly impossible to see. Kai used his heightened senses to navigate the chaos, striking down armored soldiers with bone-shattering force. "Kai, on your left!" a teammate shouted. He pivoted just in time to avoid a blade strike, countering with a devastating kick that sent his opponent crashing through a doorway. But the sheer number of Corp-Sec reinforcements was overwhelming. One by one, his team was cut down or incapacitated by relentless fire and neutralizer blasts. Then Roy Chen stepped into the fray. He moved with lethal precision, his enhanced strength turning the tide instantly. A single backhand sent a rebel flying into a concrete wall. Another he grabbed and used as a human shield against incoming fire before tossing the body aside like a rag doll. Phoenix fought her way toward Kai, gunning down 2 operatives before reaching his side. "We have to retreat!" she yelled, grabbing his arm. Before they could move, Roy was on them. His massive hand clamped around Phoenix's throat, lifting her effortlessly off the ground. "No!" Kai roared, lunging forward. But multiple neutralizer blasts struck him like a collapsing wall of force, sending him sprawling to the ground. His limbs felt like lead, his vision blurred, and the furious fire in his chest dimmed to a flickering ember. He struggled to rise, but his muscles refused to obey, frozen by the numbing energy coursing through his veins, leaving him collapsed and paralyzed. Through the haze, he saw them closing in, dark silhouettes against the flickering emergency lights. Desperation clawed at his mind, but all he could do was watch, helpless, as they surrounded him. Phoenix struggled, kicking and clawing at Roy's grip. Her eyes met Kai's, filled with defiance even as her air supply dwindled. With a sickening crunch, Roy snapped her neck. Kai's world went red. A primal scream tore from his throat, but his body refused to obey. His mind burned with fury as he watched Phoenix's lifeless form drop to the blood-soaked floor. A final blow struck Kai from behind, sending him into darkness. As consciousness faded, he caught fragments of conversation. "Target secured," Roy Chen reported. "Bring him to Dr. Kessler." "And the others?" someone asked. "Irrelevant," Roy replied coldly. This was never about them. The world went black as Kai fell into unconsciousness, the sounds of gunfire and dying screams fading into oblivion.